Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of What the Dementia by Bambu Care. I'm your host, Brianna Wilson. I am a certified dementia practitioner and the founder of Bambu Care. So in the spirit of my birthday month, we did a podcast every Wednesday for the month of May. And so today is our final podcast for the month of May. And so next month, starting in June, we will be resuming our normal schedule, which is 2 podcast episodes a month. Today, we will be briefly discussing reversible dementia and pseudodementia. This should be a pretty quick episode. I know our last several episodes have been fairly long, so I wanted to just bring you a quick topic. So before we get into today's topic, I just want to give a final reminder to our podcast audience that May 31st will be the last opportunity to pre-order our new dementia care book, With Intent, a practical guide to navigating behaviors along the dementia care journey at a discounted price. It will still be available after the pre-orders end. It will just go to its normal pricing, okay? If you are new to our podcast or unfamiliar with Intent does have 10 chapters covering the basics and stages of dementia, sensory changes and its impacts, the PANDA method, which is the bread and butter of the book, environmental considerations, communication etiquette, establishing a routine and why it's important, accepting changes along the dementia care journey, end-of-life considerations, and self-care. So if you are interested in pre-ordering With Intent to support your care journey, please visit letsbamboo.com and click on the shop tab. It is only available for those in the US right now, but we are working on making it accessible to those in other countries very soon, hopefully. Also, don't forget to take advantage of our free resources, which can be found at letsbamboo.com as well, but this time you'll click the resources tab, and our free resources are accessible to anyone all over the world, okay? Also, don't forget that for the month of June, we will be hosting a free webinar called Managing Resistance to Care. So if you are dealing with refusals from your partner living with dementia, or if your partner is demonstrating resistance when it comes to their care, you'll definitely want to attend this webinar. We will be opening up registration the first week of June, so please be sure to sign up for our newsletter at letsbamboo.com/newsletter if you are interested. And of course, as always, all the links I mentioned will be available in the podcast notes. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about reversible dementias and pseudodementia. What is it and how does it differ from true dementia? Now, it's important to note that pseudodementia and reversible dementia are often used interchangeably, and I even have a tendency to do this because pseudodementia essentially means fake dementia, and it's really easy to get carried away and kind of generalize that, right? But it is important to know that pseudodementia is technically a specific type of reversible dementia. So in most cases, when you hear pseudodementia, you want to think depression. This is the most common application of the term. So pseudodementia is typically referring to cognitive impairment due to depression that is mimicking the symptoms of dementia. So if you haven't listened to the podcast on the 3Ds, dementia, delirium, and depression, I highly recommend it. It's episode 4, and I'll link that in the podcast notes. Now, as I mentioned, pseudodementia is a type of reversible dementia. And the thing that is most important to know is that the word reversible is not set in stone per se, okay? It's not like a guarantee. Honestly, it would be more accurate to say potentially reversible, okay, as treating whatever the cause is can still be difficult, and early diagnosis and intervention does matter. And the way that potentially reversible dementias differ from true dementia is that true dementia is irreversible and degenerative in nature. With potentially reversible dementias, the underlying cause is not degenerative in nature. Its root is not in neurological degeneration, okay? So we talked about depression as a cause of potentially reversible dementia. But what would be some others, okay? So others could include insomnia or sleep deprivation, sleep apnea, thyroid disorders, nutritional or vitamin deficiencies such as like folate or vitamin B12, medication side effects or interactions, certain infections, brain tumors, alcohol abuse, okay, things like that. And there are so many others. But the key thing is that the root of these causes are not in neurological degeneration, okay? With true dementia, essentially what's being triggered is neurodegeneration, okay? And it's really not to say that none of these things can't eventually cause or trigger neurodegeneration. It's just that at the base level, that's not what's causing the dementia or mimicking the symptoms of dementia. Okay, but as we know, when things are left untreated, they do have the potential to get worse, okay? And so then it could end up triggering neurodegeneration or something else, okay? So that's just kind of something important to keep in mind. Now, knowing the cause of dementia, whether it's reversible or irreversible, is difficult, and knowing whether the dementia is reversible or irreversible at all is tricky. And for this reason, misdiagnosis is pretty common, okay? And thorough testing is so important. It really is a rule-out process, and so the testing can be and should be rather extensive. So what's the lesson in all of this? Why am I telling you this? So the lesson is that if you notice any of the common symptoms of dementia, so memory loss, increased confusion, impaired judgment, difficulty performing familiar tasks, difficulty with social interactions, maybe your partner seems to exhibit increased anxiety or they're withdrawing more, mood changes, things like that. One, don't automatically assume that it's dementia and it's irreversible and by default degenerative in nature, okay? And two, get your loved one checked out. You want to catch these types of things as early as possible so that the root cause can be potentially identified and the appropriate interventions can be implemented, okay? So if you are someone listening to our podcast and your loved one hasn't gotten an official diagnosis, but you think your partner may have dementia, my suggestion is that you go ahead and schedule a doctor appointment, okay, so that your loved one can get assessed, right? Remember, everything that looks like dementia may not actually be dementia. And so it's important to act on the things that you notice because whatever symptoms your loved one may be displaying may be reversible or at least treatable to some degree, okay? So hopefully you found this short podcast episode informative. If anyone has any questions, comments, or future podcast requests, you can send us an email at podcast@whatthedementia.com. Don't forget to pre-order your With Intent book at letsbamboo.com and sign up for our newsletter if you want to be notified when registration opens for our June webinar, Managing Resistance to Care. Thank you so much for joining us on another episode of What the Dementia by Bambu Care. We look forward to catching you on the next episode. Take care, and until next time, stay strong, care on, and remember, you are not alone. Bambu Care is always here.